With the NBA playoffs coming soon, we are heading into territory of who's going to win an NBA championship. We have many teams who look to be a lock for a title, and I feel we are in for a very entertaining postseason. We have seen so many players blossom and show up in the regular season, and I feel a title would definitely do well for their careers and legacies down the line. But there are certain people for whom I think a championship would do a lot for them, and for some, it is a matter of their legacies being on the line. With the first being the Big Four Los Angeles Clippers. We all know what we were supposed to expect from Kawhi and PG when they first came into LA. They were hyped up to be the team to knock off the Lakers, and the Battle of LA was the biggest hype train that year, and then it fell apart in the worst way possible. Then they just had an onslaught of injuries year after year after year, and they were never able to fully compete at their best. And now they acquired James Harden and Russell Westbrook in trades, and now they are on a team where they definitely have the best chance to compete for a championship. The only issue is that the Clippers have had very on and off hot streaks and cold streaks this year, but I do think that this is their last chance at winning a title, as I feel a championship would redeem a lot of reputations for these players. James Harden and Russell Westbrook especially, considering that Harden has had a bad rep over the last couple of seasons, and Russell Westbrook, someone who's been a journeyman over the last couple of years, and his reputation just plummeting after the whole Lakers situation. Two players who I feel like that are not in their primes of their careers, but they could still give it their all to this team and to winning a championship. And if they were to win that, it would do so much for their legacies, and they would get higher in the all-time rankings. Paul George can finally add a title to his resume, as he went through so much in his career with injuries and him coming back to playing at a consistent level for years. Winning a championship while having a great postseason would definitely put him in the Hall of Fame ballot for sure. And with Kawhi Leonard, a player who would also be in a tier of his own along with LeBron James, as a player who has won a title and a Finals MVP with 3 different franchises, and proves that he can once again lead a team to a championship after 2019. Because Kawhi Leonard, ever since 2019, has not been able to even make it back to the conference finals. But winning a third championship on a third team as their best player would definitely solidify his case as being a top 20 player all time. Now, as I'm recording this, Kawhi Leonard has been reported to have swelling in his knee, so we do not know for sure if he's going to be playing. But still, if he is healthy and is able to lead the Clippers to another championship, that will definitely do a lot for his career. I believe the Clippers actually do have a chance to make it to the finals if the cards fall in their favor and they just play their matchups really well. But the West still runs to the Denver Nuggets and their best player, Nikola Jokic. Which, speaking of him, he has an opportunity to do something incredible and possibly cement himself as not only one of the greatest centers in NBA history, but one of the greatest players ever. We all saw what he did last year. He showed up and performed at an all-time level, and he more than well deserved to win a championship. However, the problem lies with the fact that the Heat were not the best team to come out the West. They definitely overachieved and they had a great run, but they were not a challenge to the Denver Nuggets, considering that the Nuggets were just flat out the better team. And that's not to disrespect Nikola Jokic or anything to take away from what he did, but the Nuggets definitely did not have the greatest matchup in the world. I mean, the Celtics definitely, I feel like, would have given the Nuggets a better matchup than the Heat. So I feel like Nikola Jokic has to prove that he can, one, do it again and prove that it was not a fluke the first time, and second, dominate against a team that is a worthy opponent. And if Jokic dominates like he did last year, we have no choice but to put him in the top 25, the top 20 players of all time. Maybe even top 15, depending on who you ask. But he is not the only player that has to prove that he can win again, because Giannis Antetokounmpo is in that same situation. While Giannis is not under the most pressure, he for sure has a lot of pressure going into the playoffs this year. Last year was just bad luck and unfortunate circumstances, as Giannis was injured for 2 of those games. Then 2022 was also a year filled with injuries to Chris Middleton. We are now 3 years removed from 2021, and the Bucks this year might have their best chance at winning a championship. But there have been problems throughout this entire season with the Milwaukee Bucks. But for Giannis specifically, there is nothing Giannis really needs to prove. It's just a matter of him getting another championship, because we all know that Giannis should not only just have 1 ring. So all the people that say, oh, 2021 was a fluke, he wouldn't have won if the Nets were injured, even though that is crazy. However, I do believe that Giannis should not only just have 1 ring. Another championship added to his resume, along with a dominant run in the finals, will instantly get him closer to being in the same tier as MJ, LeBron, Magic, Steph, and Shaq. He, in my opinion, is already, if not borderline, top 15 all time. Another ring would just solidify it. Unfortunately, Giannis is injured, and we do not know when he's going to be able to come back in the first round, but I do believe that Giannis is going to be able to play in the playoffs. But if Giannis does come back for the playoffs and he stays healthy for the remainder of this postseason, he is going to dominate as usual, as he is the best player on the team and he is the best player in the league. But however, his teammates definitely finally has to be better this postseason, which we are talking about Damian Lillard. We have campaigned for Dame to leave Portland, and he finally got what he asked for. He was able to be put on a team that is developed to win a championship. But this year has been an up and down roller coaster. He has had his moments where he shows that he is still Damian Lillard, you know, Dame time, all that. But other times, he has been very underwhelming, and his shooting has just been horrific sometimes. Now, I don't know if it's a mental thing or he's trying to adjust to the system, but we just gotta call it how it is. Damian Lillard has been very underwhelming this year. But this postseason, he is now in the best position of his career to win a ring, and he cannot afford to mess it up. We have given him a pass for his time in Portland, as he was not given a proper roster to compete for titles, and we have given him so many passes. We understand why he was never going to win a championship in Portland. But now, there is no excuse. There is no reason why Damian Lillard should not win a championship this year. And if he falls short in the playoffs and he has a stinker of a series, I don't even want to know what the narratives are going to be for Damian Lillard, because it is not going to be pretty. And we all know what they're going to say. So I really hope that Damian Lillard can show up in the playoffs and be there for Giannis. Dame is one of those players that I really want to see win a ring, because he definitely deserves one, but he has got to step it up and be there in the clutch. But the one player who is under the most pressure, who has no room for an excuse, and the player who has to win right now is Jayson Tatum. And I know that Jayson Tatum is 26, and you know, LeBron and Jordan and all the other greats, they did not win until their late 20s and their early 30s. But the difference between LeBron and MJ and Tatum has had a great team consistently for years. 2018 and 2019, Tatum was not the best player on the team. He was still young and he was still blossoming as a player. 2021 was also a year that is excused because Jaylen Brown was injured and Tatum was the only one out there against the KD, Kyrie, and Harden Brooklyn Nets. But 2022, they should have won that championship. The Celtics were the better team, and Jayson Tatum just fell short and he choked. He underperformed. He was played well against Andrew Wiggins as he clamped him on defense, and he was just inefficient on offense. He was just terrible. And then last year, while Tatum was not outright horrible, he had some inconsistencies as well, and he was showing some of his shortcomings in 2022. So this year, he has to step it up, and he has to be the guy for the team. I have gone on and said that Jayson Tatum is one of the most talented players, if not the most talented player in the NBA. I truly believe that. Jayson Tatum is one of those players where he is on that tier of being a superstar, but then he sometimes shows us why he is not there yet. He will have times where he is a superstar. Then he'll have times when he's not a superstar. He's just very inconsistent. Tatum this year has a chance to finally redeem himself and prove that he is a superstar and that he can be a top 5 player. He has to prove that he can win as the leader and the #1 option, and he has to prove that he has gotten better and learned from his mistakes. Tatum right now, in my opinion, is in a very similar situation to LeBron James in 2012. LeBron James, just like Jayson Tatum, was also fresh off of a finals loss where he was underwhelming and he choked in the finals on the biggest stage. Everyone clowned him. Everyone ridiculed him. Everyone was saying that he can't be calling himself the king. He can't be calling himself the chosen one because he has no championships. And then in the playoffs, his back was against the wall in a series where if they had lost, his reputation and his legacy would have been destroyed forever. And he pushed back. He responded, played at an all-time level, and he ended up getting to the finals and played at another all-time level, and he was rewarded a championship and redeemed himself, and everyone crowned him as the best in the world. So I said that to say this to Tatum. When you go out and compete and prep for war with the Boston Celtics, when you are in a situation where your team needs you, when you are on the biggest stage of your career and your legacy is on the line, I only have one question. How will you respond?
Regard for human life. I want to go higher. It's over to Ron Lowe. Ariza dropped down. Kobe. The lob.